Think about that. Now, how in the hell we supposed to allow people to stay locked up in prison doing the exact same thing the government doing? Doing the exact same thing the government doing. But you're going to leave them locked up. But Oliver North walked, George Herbert Walker Bush walked, Ronald Reagan walked. Now, if you don't see what this is, I don't know what to tell you. Now, a lot of this stuff is subject to scrutiny, but you can't dispute the facts. All you can do is either confirm them or reject them. But one thing about it is you will have to deal with it when they bring the class action correctly. Any drug-related crime since 68. We just go back to 68. Any drug-related crime, the problem is you can't distinguish from the ones who actually did have their own pipeline from the ones that the government had. And this is why. If you go down to Central America right now, Mexico, Guatemala, Panama, Colombia, any of those countries that they call cocaine trafficking countries, and you look at it for what it is, the DEA, Drug Enforcement Agency, is protecting their dope. The DEA is protecting their dope. The DEA is protecting the dope in third world countries, and they say that it's maintain military and political stability in the region. Now, y'all need to pay attention. Why in the fuck they ain't worried about military and political stability in this country? Why they worried about it down there where they have to protect the dope? Because as long as they got enough money from the dope, they can pay who they want here. All these son bitches for sale. Senators, congressmen, mayors, governors, presidents, they all for sale. Because everything under the system that we under is commercial. Commercial means that it's about the money. So, if you look up, what's that? If you look up 27 CFR 7211, it'll tell you all crime is commercial. It's I'm gonna say it again. 27, which the CFR Code of Federal Regulations 72.11 tell you that everything, all law is commercial. Now, what do that mean? If it's commercial, it's for sale. Commercial is what Sears is. It's a commercial outlet. Commercial is what Kmart do. That's a commercial outlet. Kmart is what commercial is what Walmart do. So if all of the law is commercial, what is it telling you? It's for sale to the highest bidder. How do they sell law? They sell law by never letting you know they're selling it. It's a secret. It's a trick. It's a subject matter issue that has no bearing on the subject matter of the person. Now, I'm going to wrap this up here because I've been going for a minute and I done had to do about 4 or 5 videos just to get one video done. But all of those drug cases, that's the exit. If you can prove the government guilty, you can prove all of the people that's on the drug-related cases innocent. You can't create a crime as the government and hold the citizenry culpable for committing the same crime that you compelled them to commit. You can't do that. That's called entrapment, and it's also duress. You're putting them under duress. They have no choice. The living conditions you created mixed with the drugs you brought over here create the opportunity for them to escape the poverty, and they're going to take advantage of that. Ain't nobody no damn fool. If you can sell dope, I can too. If you're the government, If you're the president of the United States, if Donald Trump right now had a sack slinging out the back door of the White House, why I can't sling across the street from him? I'm just saying, it's the same fucking point. So, y'all can be deceived if y'all want to, but I had the answer as to what happened to the angels that fell or the guys that walked among the men, where they go. I went through it genetically, spiritually, energetically. I touched on a little bit about the diet and about the corruption in the system and the breakdown in the system and how it affects us. If y'all really want to see some shit happen, share the shit out this video. Share the shit out of it. Because when the right people hear it, and they know that you got people sitting in prison by the 1,000 that should be on the street, that didn't really do nothing wrong of their own accord, but they was compelled to commit a crime by their very own government who held them liable for the crime that the government committed. No. It's all in the books. 42 United States Code 1983, 19 United States Code 243, 18 United States Code 242. All laws commercial, 27 Code of Federal Regulations 7211. It's all in the books. Everybody know how to look up duress. Duress falls under this because they use duress and they use entrapment in order to lock everybody up that's on the dope case. Y'all need to watch out for this. I'm telling y'all what the issue is and what the remedy is. Because it don't make no difference for me to point the problem out if I don't give you a fucking solution. I'm just another motherfucker in the way. I ain't never going to be in nobody's way. I'm going to either find a way out or I'm going to tear this bitch down. That's the only two options I got. Find a way out or destruction. And it don't matter to me either way. I'm going to look through here in case somebody got some questions before I get off. Again, we're going to see what it do from here. Hermetic law is the real law. Yep. Whoa. Yep. Walmart martial law. That's why they closing all them Walmarts down so they can turn them into prisons. Yeah. All this stuff is real life. It's right in our face, Chanel. Yeah, matter of fact, the contract holders' names are in the back of Black Law Dictionary. So if you want to know who we contracted to, that's holding the laws, that's holding us oppressed, it's in the back of the Law Dictionary where it's supposed to be the presidents, but it got all of the name of royalty in there. And I posted on here where one of the Moors was going through it. Yep. Chanel, they locked your baby daddy up just to be locking him up because they the ones committed the crime. But if you don't know how to fight it, you got to fight it as a class action at this point because it affects too many people for a person to use it alone because they'll shut the door on all of the rest of the people after the one case. See, they'll create what they call an ex post facto law to clean that shit up. And then the Constitution say that they're not supposed to create any ex post facto laws, but they do it all the time. You know, you'll commit something that they say is a crime, but there's no law in the books for it, and then they'll go put a law in the books and wait for you to do it again. Then they'll charge you with all of them. Conspiracy. Conspiracy is the way to get everybody involved caught up. Yep, still owned by the Queen. Nope. As of July the 4th, the contract was up. We no longer owned by the Queen. Everybody is under my jurisdiction. I'm the Crown Prince. We ain't under her rule no more, and they already know this. That's why they talk about the last president being Trump, the last pope being Francis, and the last Nation of Islam leader being Farrakhan. This is for a reason. So, with that, I don't see any questions. that I need to answer. So if y'all got any questions, y'all inbox them. If y'all need me to speak somewhere, y'all just tell me the address and send me a ticket. I'll come. I'll talk to y'all later. Everybody stay on y'all toes. Don't fall for they shenanigans. And I'm going to keep exposing these bastards every chance I get. All right, one love.
On poverty, using inflation. It's a deception. It's a grand deception. Everything they doing is an underlying deception attached to it. And when you try to use their system to break from the deception, they have another piece of their system designed to funnel you back into the system.
So what do we do? So what do we
go
do?
back to our original ways.
How do we find out what our original ways are?
We got to remember that our tradition is oral tradition. The more of us to make an oral statement in the public domain declaring our organic nature, our organic connection to the land over here, the stronger our tribes become, because now we have the people waking up to the reality that everything that you do with paperwork is designed to trap you in a paper chain of adhesion contracts. What they call them take it or leave it contracts. Right? So you, in order to get gas to your house, you have to sign a contract. Right? And then they send you a bill. The bill is acknowledgement of the payment rendered. Dollar bill, gas bill. You can spend a dollar bill, you're supposed to be able to spend the gas bill on gas.
Mm-hmm.
But we don't know how it worked because they never taught us. This is why Noble Drew Ali say learn civics. Because only in civics could you see the deception, because they use legalese to people who don't speak legalese. That's why ignorance of the law is no excuse. They use your ignorance for capital gain.
I guess it just seems to me that, you know, since we do still to this day have those Moors that look like those that look like us but we're not us, being disruptive, being what we call COINTELPRO and all that, they whoever they're working for, it is to keep us divided and not to bring us together. It just is a matter, and then you have that whole group that has no clue that the government is de facto. They don't know anything about being a Moor or anything else, an indigenous person, or, you know, or anything. That's where I think the greater majority falls in that. They don't know anything, and so they know the church, you know, they know this, that, the third, but they don't know these things. And then the way to get that information out is controlled by the opposition. So it's very hard, even, you know, in platforms like this, sometimes to keep, you know, to get certain information out without it being, you know, something that is deemed, you know, a violation of whatever, when all you're really trying to do is bring the truth.
We have to stop worrying about trying to transgress their law, because the Supreme Court ruled that the indigenous people was perpetual enemies of the state and that they can treat them in whatever manner they treat an enemy of the state. That's already settled in the Supreme Court of the United States.
We are perpetual enemies of the state.
Yes.
So with that being said, then if you run up against a brick wall unless the people begin to come together. And I'm always making appeals out there to listeners. I'm saying, if you work for some of these companies that, you know, you're creating, you got what do you call it? Like the internet not the content, but the platforms. You know, you got to have an engine, and you got to have a this. Why aren't we creating our own things, our own? I mean, I know our form of communication was telepathy and drums and the mouth.
We actually been trained, but you got to remember, any one of us that try to do something that big, if they had a sufficient amount of suspicion that would be successful in reaching the people, they did either two things: defamed them and locked them up, or murdered them outright.
Which is true. So what do we do? I mean, I don't keep saying that, because I mean, at the end of the day, what we need are solutions. We need solutions. I mean, everybody's throwing this, that, there, and that, you know, but what
right.
do we do?
So the solution to the problem right now is awakening to the grassroots. This is where the issue is stuck at, in the grassroots. The leadership across the land is already unified. It's just that the people got to realize that this is about to happen so that it can happen. The people don't realize it yet.
sharing this video as far as you can.
That's
and other videos that you've done to get it out to for people to see it, and then start asking questions, and just having discussion groups with your meetings with your with your kinfolk, things that you can do, even if it's a small group of 5 or 2, but start like the old each one teach one, each one reach one. We need to do something in order to get on one accord with this. And that to me seems like the issue. We gather together, but we're not assembled together. In other words, to me, when I think of assembly, I think of a puzzle with pieces. You could throw the 1,000 puzzle piece on the table and it's gathered, but until it's assembled, you don't have the full picture.
Right.
And that's what we are. We're like 1,000 pieces, a million, millions of billions pieces of puzzle pieces thrown on the table of life, but not assembled together. And that's the only way I see from my finite mind that we can even begin to tackle this monumental task of freeing ourselves from something that we've been entrained in for so long. I mean, folks are literally, you don't even know sometimes that you've been entrained and hypnotized. What did the Pope say? Give me the child for the first 7 years and I'll show you the man. Or they said even train up a child trained in the way that he should go, and when he's old he won't depart. And we got a lot of folks that have been trained, and it's hard, if you will, to crack that nut. They're not letting any new info in.
Right, because they took sides with a doctrine that doesn't serve their interests, because the doctrine has something called a persuasive argument attached to it.
Mm-hmm.
Stop arguing doctrine and just start asking for receipts first and foremost. That's why I put all those receipts. Like when you go down my page ain't regular. Them all receipts. Some of them you gotta be intuitive enough to read them like a tarot card, but some of them is an outright statement. Some of them is book references to tell you where to find certain stuff. Right? Even my videos is the receipt. When I'm telling you, look up the words I'm using. Look up, when I say look up fractional reserve banking, so you'll know what it is. Then you know how they're stealing your money. Right? Look up the difference in get you a Black's Law dictionary, and go in there and look at what the word used to be and what it is today. It's not the same.
Right.
When you can see the evolution of the terms change, then you can see the corralling of the mind. Right? Like today, we say more. It's a catch-all. Anybody that look like us is classified now as a Moor. Good Moor, dirty Moor don't matter. They still a Moor. But when you go back before 1492, ain't nobody over here called Moor.
Now, so we have to unlearn some stuff, and for a lot of folks, they were like, "Look, Dag, I just got out of being Negro and Black, and I just went to, and I thought Moor was the thing." Well, we have to be open to change. You have to be open to progressive knowledge. And I mean, one thing about me is I've never been stuck anywhere that I couldn't get out of mentally. If me being a pastor, in ministry for 25 years and a pastor for 10 of those last 10, and then when Chu slapped me upside the head, I just like, oops, gotta leave that. I mean, I've never, I'm not the kind, but not some folks are not that easily moved out of their entrainment, and their indoctrination, and so it becomes difficult because in their minds what they're doing has helped them, but if they really looked at it critically, they're like it's like they're in a rut that they're just digging deeper. They really haven't going up, they haven't ascended, they're going down.
You remember, it's a chapter in the Circle 7 called Misery. It started out, weak and insufficient as thou art, O man, and good. There is one thing in which thou art obstinate and moveth not, and his name is misery. Because of the suffering, we latch on to the suffering. Because we are empathetic people, when we believe that something drastic has happened to our people, we're going to ride that suffering out. Right? Because that's the grievance.
Mm-hmm.
Our people is got a very unique characteristic. I don't want to see you going through nothing I don't want to go through. And if I come across you dealing with something that I don't want to deal with, I'm going to do everything I can to enlighten you on how to change what you're going through so you can be in a less traumatic situation. Each one teach one. This is where it come from. If I don't want you to go through nothing I don't want to, why would I inflict it upon you and force you to go through it? That's the enemy's perspective. That's what his agenda is. He's using your energy to harvest. He's putting you through the stuff he don't want to go through, and you so caught on the misery and the empathy of the misery that you attach to the suffering while he reaping the benefit.
Yeah, you're right. But I mean, like I said, but at the end of the day, it's all about, you know, how we can come together and stop fighting each other. And everyone has to ask him or herself, what is my motivation? You know, everybody wants, you know, if we get great ideas, and I'm an idea factory. But one thing I've come to realize is that even though I have a lot of what I think are damn good ideas, they're not all for me to put into effect. Right. I'm not supposed to execute them, but I am supposed to share them. You know, somebody else has to pick that one up. But if it's coming through me I call myself the idea factory, then I should give it freely, because at the end of the day, it's going to be beneficial. So if somebody gets some kind of financial gain from it, fine. But larger, if it's helping us as a whole, then that's the important thing, knowing that we can't do everything. You sprinkle seeds out there, and, you know, like I said, one plants, another, you know, waters, and we used to say in church, and God gives the increase to it. But it's the same thing. You may not have your name on everything that is good that comes out of this, but at least you know you gave your positive energy to it, and it's going to benefit the whole. And I think some folks are afraid of not getting their just due, or their just, you know, they want their 15 minutes of fame.
Our culture teaches us this: whatever you can do to contribute to the collective, if you do that, the collective will make sure you're taken care of, because it's a mutual exchange of benefit. But anything that you do that only serves your own interest and has no benefit to anybody other than one person, the community never supports that. Right? So why do we buy music?
Why do we?
Music is our culture. It's a critical part of our culture. We can talk through the music what we can't say openly regular. Right? So you will produce a Tracy Chapman.